Online Media Corporation. This is Africa Online Media Corporation live broadcast about to start. This is Africa Online Media Corporation live broadcast starting. And here we go. Parenting is usually no easy task, but do it many of us must. As we wait into a new year, we want to begin from the family and just the entire family we mean. We want to discuss adoptive and step parenting. There are so many orphans in Africa, yet the well-to-do, both on the continent and in the diaspora, do not usually adopt children. Most adoptions occur only when Westerners are involved. On the other hand, many stepchildren have from difficult to non-existent relationships with their parents. In other situations, the stepchildren are discriminated against. The question arises, is it the children's fault if they happen to not have their biological parents around to care for them? We are aware that the African is generally a very caring person, but unfortunately, not when it concerns adopting children or providing the care they need to stepchildren. That is why we on Africa Online Media Corporation are inviting you out, who are out there, of course, to join us discuss the problems and challenges facing adopted and stepchildren. Please have your say. Zoom in and let's tackle this topic. Be with us. We care for you, care for us, and let us care for the children of the continent of Africa. And that being said, we're going to go straight with the editorial. Today is the 12th day of the year 2020. There are 354 days left until the end of the year, a long time away, isn't it? From our history page anyway, we can share the following. In the United States and on January 20th, that is next Monday, it will be a holiday honoring the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. We all know that this day is observed each year in the United States of America and on the third Monday of January in honor of the January 15th birthday of the civil rights leader. The floating holiday is similar to holidays set under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, though the act predated the establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which happens to be January 15. More history. On January 12, back in 1879, the British Zulu War began. British troops under Lieutenant General Frederick Augustus invaded Zululand from the Southern African Republic of Natal. And in another history chapter, on this day in 1908, a wireless message was sent long distance for the first time from the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. And on the last page of our history page, we read this one. On this day in 1991, that is, many of us were born already at that time, the United States Congress gave the green light to, or authorization for military action against the Iraq war, against Iraq in what became known as the Persian Gulf crisis. And so, enough of history, and now on to our topic of the week, adoptive and step parenting. Available literature tells us that, quote, adoption is a process whereby a person assumes the parenting of another, usually a child, from that person's biological or legal parent or parents. Michael Gove, a British politician and the adopted son of an Aberdeen fishing family, tells us that adopting means opening your home, opening your heart to a life you've never known. But there is nothing as richly rewarding as being an adoptive parent. So why are we also reluctant to either adopt or provide necessary support to facilitate adoption on the African continent? Out of the continent, it is not as much of a problem. As Catherine Hegel of Grey's Anatomy medical drama fame admits, quote, adoption has been a part of my life and a part of my family. So it was how I wanted to start. It felt natural and right to me, end of quote. We on Africa Online Media Corporation believe very strongly, I can add, that adoption stands on the side of showing empathy. That is, empathy born out of the trial and error of trying to help somebody out. Empathy to have and to hold, even if it means never succeeding. It is empathy to be able to reach out to touch a life. And so we say this. We will end today's reflection with this take from one of our favorite actors, Bruce Willis of Die Hard fame, who tells us and invites us with the following words, quote, too many children in foster care are falling through cracks. Be a hero. Take the time to learn about adoption today. Yes, we have to take time out. We have to walk on our toes and be able to become not a hero because we want to be cheered by the public, but we want to be a hero. And of course, again, not necessarily to be praised, but just to have the satisfaction that when the need arose, we stepped up, we stepped forward and opened our homes and opened our hearts to that individual or those individuals that need support. Because, not because they are biological, not because they have any biological connection to us, but rather because that someone or those people who might become a star had we not taken them in, have been given that opportunity. So we have to step up and step out and give a hand to welcome those people into our lives. Whether we resort to adopt a total stranger or a stepchild, our goal should be to touch a life. That touch may be just the one thing that life needs to become an important, successful change agent in today's changing world. No doubt, stretching that hand to touch a life depends very much on faith, but that is not what we lack. All we need is the will and the willpower. After all, do we not grow up learning that where there is a way, there is always a will? We do not, of course, generally lack the way. It is rather, as we always say, the will that fails us. But we can cultivate it and use it to leverage the goodwill that adoption or being an adoptive mind needs. That said, Reverend Palm, I know you are out there in Houston, not just streaming the program, but also putting us in the four corners of the world through YouTube, or is it Facebook? Whichever, it is social media. So thanks. Reverend Palm, what is your take on adoptive parents or adopting children that are not our biological offspring?
Thank you so much, Nia Song. You know, somebody was questioning on the forum that this was a slippery slope, but they were saying it from their own personal experience. Africa Online, as you very well know, our motto is to address, raise awareness about issues that affect Africa and Africans, seek solutions for those to those issues, and hopefully make progress. This adoption thing and stepchildren, step parenting, it's a big problem in Africa, both on the continent and the diaspora. So that falls right into what we set out to do on this show and in the organization. For those who have buried bad experiences, either as adopted children or as stepchildren, I would advise them now is the time for those ones to be healed. Because when you bury them, it's going to come out, either in your marital home or in your old age. So you might as well deal with it right now. We want to hear from you. Zoom in, and the coordinates are on our Facebook page. You can also dial in if you are not able to Zoom in. you can dial in. Let me look at that number. I think it's a 408 number. Just give me a minute here. I'm going to look at that number real quick. If you are not able to zoom in, you can dial 408 638-0968, and the ID number is 514-199-854 #. Again, if you don't have Zoom, you can download the Zoom app. It's free, you know. But if you're not able to do that, you can dial in 408-638-0968, and the ID number is 514-4199-854 #. There are a lot of Africans who find themselves in a situation where they have to deal with step parents. Some of them is because either a parent died or a parent married another spouse. Most of the time it's female. We have discussed polygamy as a topic on Africa Online, and we're not going to discuss it now because that's a separate topic that we discuss. We usually discuss polygamy and polyandry, but in polygamous homes, there are step children and step parents. However, there are a lot of families where maybe the wife died and another mother is brought in, and the children are having to deal with a stepmother, or the father died and the mother remarried and the children are having to deal with a stepfather, even though the latter is not that common. I say this, children don't select their parents. They don't choose their parents. Children don't choose to be born. Two adults, hopefully adults, sometimes it's teenagers in these days, children are having children. They make a decision or they don't decide and they have a child out of wedlock or by accident, and then this child is being exposed to situations that they had nothing to do with. You know, a child is not, it has nothing to do with them being born. But then they find themselves either dealing with an adoptive parent or a step parent. And a lot of times we find situations where the step parents don't really treat the children as their biological children. And it is sad. You know, you don't have to share the same blood with somebody to be kind to them. And the thing with adoption in Africa, there are a lot of orphans on the continent, a lot. Unfortunately, when you see people adopting children, most of the time it's Westerners. So why is it that we Africans, even those who have means and are well-to-do on the continent or in the diaspora, why is it that we don't adopt our fellow Africans? Why, Niasom?
That is the big question. We Africans shy to do certain things. As someone also mentioned on the internet, was it, social media, is it because of faith, lack of faith, or possessing too much faith? Or is it because of some superstitious belief that if you're adopting a child from another culture or from another family, you're going to bring in somebody or someone that will, well, I'm repeating myself, you bring in someone who may bring some cultural disbelief, a cultural trait into your family? Are you scared of that? But even if you are scared of that, it does not make a difference, because human beings are human beings, and they adapt to your culture once you adopt them, once you bring them in and give them that shoulder to lean on, give them that home and that bed to sleep in, so that they get the training they need to grow up, to grow into maturity, ready to face the world, knowing that this lady or this man gave me the wherewithal, provided for me, and helped me to become who I am. So there's no reason why we should be scared of adopting or taking on the responsibility of raising that child from our neighborhood, just because either the parents are too poor to do so, or because one parent has left, or because one parent has gone to the great beyond. So it is absolutely necessary for all of us, whether we're living by ourselves or living in a community, to join hands and to find that goodwill in us to be able to raise children, whether they are our biological children. Well, you don't even have to talk about raising your own biological children. Your non-biological children, like neighborhood children, you can take children from your neighborhood and support them through education, by providing them with education, providing them with a home to live in, providing them with the means to be able to live as human beings live, decently, of course. So those are the things that we ought not to be afraid of, but rather determined to go in and do, because we are touching a life with the hope of making a difference and helping change our society, helping make our community grow into a community of responsible people. Reverend Pam.
Yeah, another aspect of it is sometimes, or this happens frequently, our people on the continent, they will bring a child from the village to live with them. They don't necessarily go through an adoptive process or a legal process to adopt them, but they raise those children, and some of them are very good, because I know when we were growing up, we had a lot of people in the house. My dad put a lot of children through school that were not his children, and these are children that came from a less well-to-do family. Some of them were relatives, some of them were not. Even with their house help, my dad also put them through trade school, vocational schools. So I think some of the practices that are common, these people, they will go to the village and bring a child, but not necessarily an orphan. That is what I have seen as common practice, in my experience. I don't know what yours is, Niason.
Same. Yeah, personally, I mean, I was raised not so much by my parents as by my step parents. They were not really step parents as such. They were kind of maybe what we'll be talking some other day, foster parents, not because they lacked what to do, but because they wanted me. I was grown up, well, not really grown up, but I was a child who could help raise other children by babysitting them. So I had to leave our compound, my father's compound, to another compound to babysit. And this parent took care of me in every way and made sure they provided for me. I had 3 square meals, I had clothes to wear. And at Christmas, they did not buy things for other children in the compound. They bought for all of us. They did not say, oh, this one is from there, so we will not provide for him. No, it never happened like that. And when it came time, when there was no more child for me to babysit, the first idea that came to their minds was, you will go to school. And of course, I had to do the 3 miles, or was it 5 miles? Yeah, it was 5 miles to trek to school. It means I was mature enough to go to school, because the first time they tried that, I was still babysitting, but they wanted me to start school. But I went and they put my hand over my head. It did not touch my left ear. And they said, oh, no, you are not yet of the age to come to school, because the birthday had not been written down. So they did not know exactly when I was born, how old I was. So because of that, I had to wait 1 more year. And then when I came, they said, oh, no, you go to Infants 1. At that time, it was not class as it is today. So I went to Infants 1, and I met this great man who is of blessed memory, may he rest in peace, who taught us the basics of being a pupil in a primary school. Coming from the village, speaking only the dialect, no word of English. There was no pidgin at all in those days in my village. It was only English, British English. You either spoke it or you spoke the vernacular. So that is how we were raised. And of course, from there, I have lived my life by being raised by other people, not my biological parents, because they have had an interest in seeing that I succeed. And thank God, when I went to Yaoundé in 1970, 71, I began studying on my own in the house, because my uncle who took me to Yaoundé was able to order lectures from Wolsey Hall in England. And I used those lectures to study history and economics and get my A levels. And I was able from there to enter the University of Yaoundé, thanks to the generosity of this uncle, who did not say, oh, because you are not my biological brother, you will not benefit from what I have to provide. Of course, in my village, we don't have a word for uncle. So we call uncles brothers or fathers, depending on their ages. And my father's brother is my father, my mother's sister is my aunt, and so on is my mother. So we don't have all those things. So I realized that the village was really intertwined, and everybody cared for everybody. Everybody knew everybody, and you never went hungry, because when you leave your parents' house or your adopted father's house or wherever you are staying, You are passing at the next door, and the lady in the house invites you in and say, "Oh, my son, there's something here to eat. Eat this and have this cup of water." And of course, that is where with the phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," came from. Because in the African community, it is the village that used to raise the child. Reverend Pam.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Unfortunately, that culture, that close-knit community is dying.
Very fast.
With the influence of social media.
Yes.
You know, children never really starved, and it took a village. I remember when, you know, back in Africa, where your neighbor could discipline your child, beat the life out of them, and you will be thanking your neighbor for disciplining your child.
Yes.
You can't do that anymore. And I'm surprised that the Bangla people don't have a word for uncle and aunt. I'm surprised. We do have that in Bali, you know.
Okay.
Paternal aunt, paternal uncle, maternal aunt, and maternal uncle. We have 4 different names for them. So you Bangla people need to learn a lot from us. But you know, it is. And what you're saying, your uncle did not go through any legal process of adoption because there was no process at the time. But
no.
You say he was. Maybe that was foster care. Maybe that will fall more into our next topic, our sequel.
Yes.
Maybe, but they are step families that, you know, they treat each other like siblings. They don't treat them step. But then there are some women that are stepmothers from hell. Like somebody was telling me they had to run away from home as a teenager to get married because of their stepmother. So I want to encourage, you know, in our generation, there are not that many, well, polygamy is not as rampant as it used to be in the previous generations. But I want to encourage those women who are in that situation, or if you are a stepmother, be careful how you treat somebody else's child. There's no point discriminating against a child because you did not give birth to them. And for those who don't have any kids and they have stepchildren, be careful, because you never know tomorrow. You never know tomorrow. There's a sign that I saw on a relative's refrigerator, and I'm going to paraphrase it because it was kind of colloquial, but the language that they use on it, but it said something like this: be careful about the toes that you step on today. They may be attached to the butt that you have to kiss tomorrow.
Wow, that's something.
Be careful.
Yes.
You don't know. Be careful. Look at Barack Obama. If his stepfather did not treat him right, did the stepfather ever know he was going to become president of the United States, the leader of the free world?
No, he never knew. He never knew.
His father came from very humble beginnings, a small poor village in Kigali, I believe, in Kenya.
Kenya.
You never know. You never know. And you see all these celebrities, you know, athletes. I think it was Jay-Z that, you know, talked about his teacher on TV, and I'm sure he's been very generous to her. This woman kept encouraging him about his English and that he could do it, just encouraging him. And now she's reaping the benefit of that kindness. You never know. You never know who that child will become tomorrow. It may not be your biological kids. There are some people whose biological children don't even take care of them. So I want to encourage, we're all God's children. Do not discriminate against somebody else's child. Do not punish somebody else's child. There are some people, some women that they will make the stepchildren do all the housework, do all the cooking while their own kids are playing. But guess what? Your child is going to have problems in their marital home because they won't know how to cook, they won't know how to clean, and the one that you were punishing is the one that knows how to cook, that knows how to clean, like a Cinderella story. Yeah. You know, we've seen a lot of these things in Nigerian movies where, you know, the stepdaughter is the one that the prince wants or the king wants, and the stepmother does everything to try to destroy it. God is watching you. You can't get away with it. You cannot get away with it. You cannot dislike somebody just because you did not give birth to them. And I want to say this. There are also situations where people come into a relationship when children already exist. It goes both ways, but most of the time it's rampant with women marrying men that had kids. Either the kid's mother died or they were never married to the mother. And these women, some of them maltreat these children. Some of them don't even want to see them at home. My dear, I don't even know what your problem is. When you met this man, you knew he had kids. Why did you get involved with a man? It means you don't love the man, because if you love the man, you have to love his children. Those are not children that were born as a result of an adulterous affair on you. These are children that existed. I've seen quite a few cases of that. Or even a child, maybe just one child that this man had, and the wife doesn't want to see the child. What is your problem with the child? What on earth did the child do to you? You are the one, before you came, the child existed. You are the one that came to wanted to marry their father or their mother. So why are you maltreating this child?
That is the big question. So please try not to, endeavor not to, because if you do, you never know what that child will become tomorrow, and you never know what that child can do for you, because that child may end up being your savior. Because if, for example, the man happens to die and that child is well-to-do, that child will take care of you until your last day. So please, I've seen some of those things, Reverend Palmer, as you mentioned, on Nigerian movies. I don't know how true they are. I don't know if they are reflective of the Nigerian society. Yeah,
No,
because I've seen situations where a woman maltreats the house girl, and the house girl ends up, as you said, getting married to a prince, or becoming so rich because she was able to find some place where a door opened, and when the door closed, rather, she got a window that opened, and she was able to land opportunities that would never have fallen on her lap if that door had not been closed behind her. So it is good that when we have children, whether they are biological children or not, we treat them as best as we can. We give them the education, if it is, we give them the opportunities they seek, and help them to rise above what they were when you met them. Because it is not their fault that they are where they are, that they are with you. So please, please, whatever we do, let us remember that reaching out, touching those children, giving them the opportunity they seek is what matters. I think this past week, somebody shared something on the social media about Africans, or well, those who are well-to-do, who employ house help. They say, the person said, you are training that house help while your own child is watching TV, playing video games, and not doing anything. They sleep until midday, they get up, food is ready, they eat and go back to bed. But you have trained the house help, because that house help does all the work, cleans up, washes dishes, washes and irons clothes, and so on and so forth. But you are giving that child unmeasurable training while your own is sleeping or playing video games. Should we engage in things like that? Social media have come to become a big distraction to everybody and everything. So please, let us teach our children to be able to even boil water just to make tea, to even just slice the vegetables while you are preparing, while the mother is preparing food. Teach your children. Don't just let them do as they like, because when they grow up and get married, believe you me, if the wife and the man and the boy were not being trained by you, what will they become? They will be eat-outers. They will never be able to cook in their own homes. And we know that eating out is more expensive than buying the food items, coming home and preparing your own food. And when you prepare your own food, it is healthier than whatever you eat out. So please, train your own children, train the adopted children in your home, train the house helps that you bring to your house. Don't think that, train your own children while the house help is doing the work. But let your own children watch what the house help is doing and do it too. So, Reverend Palm, that is what I can say at this point.
You know, it is really sad. You know, this thing is more. I know some people don't want to open up all wounds, but those wounds need to heal. I want to encourage any child out there or teenager, if you're in a situation where your stepmother is being evil to you, let your father know, let your neighbor know, let your aunt or uncle know, let your teacher, let somebody know. Tell somebody it's child abuse. You know, I saw something on Facebook and I cried. I think this lady graduated as an attorney with a Juris Doctor degree. I don't know if you saw it or not. It's just, I wish I had thought about it during the past week. I would have shared it on the forum. The stepmother was so evil to her, so evil. If you read her story, the one that really got me, she said the stepmother used to starve her, would lock her up in the room, and the stepmother would feed the dog, but the stepmother would not feed her. So the way she survived was eating the leftover from the dog, what the dog did not eat. That's what this child ate.
Yes.
And she had to hide to eat it because if her stepmother caught her, her stepmother was going to beat her mercilessly. So someday the neighbor's daughter saw her, and I'm paraphrasing this, I saw it on Facebook. The neighbor's daughter saw her eating the dog's leftover. So the neighbor's daughter told the mother, that's the neighbor. So the neighbor called her and said, my daughter, is it true that you are eating the dog's leftover? She said, yes. So that neighbor used to feed her, will hide and feed her. That's how she survived. She said the stepmother even put pepper in her vagina.
Oh, no, that is bad. That is bad.
Today she's an attorney, and I don't know, I sent her a message. I would like to meet this lady. What she's been through, I don't know where that stepmother is, but I can tell you that she's not in a good place today, even her children. I know of situations where some stepmothers discriminated against their stepchildren, and their own children never amounted to anything. It's
That's
not
right.
on the continent, even here in the US. My point is, I don't get it though. I just don't get it. If you don't love a man, don't marry a man. If you cannot love, if you meet a man that has children or a woman that has children, don't even bother. Don't bother if you're going to maltreat that child. And if you're maltreating your husband's children or your wife's children, it means you don't love your spouse. I can't even fathom it because I can't even understand anybody doing that to any human being. And here, so you will notice, we human beings are the only ones that do evil to each other, to our species. You will not see a dog abusing another dog or a chicken, abusing another chicken. You will not see it. Sometimes the roosters, they fight maybe over a hen or something, but you rarely see the kind of evil that we do to each other. Only humans do that. But this lady's story, I wept when I read it. I wept.
Yes. Yes.
I don't even know her, but can you imagine? Can you imagine? What is the purpose? I don't get it. And for the children who are victims of this, I'll say, forgive them. Forgive them and let God handle them. But you cannot. And yeah, so I think when we are talking about foster care next week, we should add it with house help.
Yes.
The care of house help. Because a lot of the house help are also young. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
I think we should combine foster care and the house help care. How do you care for your house help? I think we need to discuss that next week. But this thing about step parenting, and then with the adoption, there are so many children in orphanages in Africa, so many. And we have Africans who are childless. We have Africans that have a lot of money. They have maybe 1 or 2 kids. It doesn't hurt to take one child. And when we say adopt a child, it doesn't mean that child have to live under your roof if you don't feel comfortable. You can still adopt a child and sponsor the child, and the child doesn't live under your roof.
That's right.
They don't have to live in your house.
They don't have to.
If you are worried about adopting a teenager or whatever, adopt an infant and raise that infant, or adopt a toddler, or maybe a 5-year-old who has already been potty trained. Because I want to paraphrase something my daughter said. If you go through this world without giving back, you have not lived. You've just passed through life. So Nia Song, I need to pause for a minute. If you can read some of those
write-ups on the,
yeah, let me take this call.
Okay. So talking about adoption, talking about raising stepchildren, we have to be committed. And commitment means resolving that, yes, I will do this. I have to do it because it is important, not just for me, the person, but for the child or the children that you want to either adopt or foster care of, which we'll be hopefully be talking more about. So it is absolutely necessary for you and I to not push these children away. As Reverend Pam just said, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you bring the child into your home. No, you can raise this child, you can sponsor this child from a distance, but just make sure that you provide the child's necessities as the need be, so that this child has a life, so that this child has the wherewithal to grow up. You never know what that child will become. Maybe the leader of the world, who knows, the leader of your community, and save you from some of the things that are going on in the world. So it is absolutely necessary for us to completely forget about self, completely forget about doing it because it is somebody's child. Just know that you are doing it for a human being. Know that you are doing it for a child who needs your help, who needs that sponsorship. So please, we need to do it. And talking about what people wrote during the week, the first person, I think one of the first people that chimed in said, raising stepchildren may be a recipe for disaster in your current relationship if you don't manage it well. Yeah, we say if the children you are adopting or the children you are raising, that is sponsoring, are not your biological children, you have to be sure that you agree with your partner, your wife or husband, that we need to give this child help. Let us bring this child within our roof and support that child. Both parties have to agree, because as this contributor is saying, if the man brings in the child, the wife may pick up a quarrel, and that may end up splitting that marriage. Or if the lady brings in the child, the man has to be supportive, because if not, they may end up parting ways. But then we all need to collaborate to be able to to raise those children. So another contributor wrote, could one say that there is an issue with step parenting due to a culture of very profound self-absorption? Some folks only want to love one's own blood. Isn't that the same kind of self-centeredness that contributes to tribalism, to nation decaying, corruption? It's hard to care for others or for the common good in a way that is more balanced. I realize this is a very broad generalization. I will add, though, that even in the United States, I hear that the primary cause of second divorces are disputes and stress over the stepchildren. So strong impulses of selfishness and lack of love for others is just another human problem, a disease across many cultures. Yes, it's not limited to any country. It is not country specific. It is not culture specific. It is not tribe specific. It is across the board. Raising children, sponsoring children, supporting children who are not your biological children is an absolute thing that we need to do to be able to have that community that we seek, because we have to accept everyone because they are human beings like all of us. The blood in us is the same blood that runs in them, and we need to give them a life. So please, whatever it takes, do what you have to do faithfully, sincerely. The Almighty will pay you back, will reward you, and don't expect that child to grow up to pay back. It may never happen, but the Father who knows you better than yourself, better than that child, will reward you in his due time. This is another contribution. This topic is a slippery slope. It's a demon which, when unveiled, could bring back very painful childhood or even adult memories to many people. It could unblock painful, repressed memory. It's a topic which, if plowed deeply, could send some people to seek psychological or medical help. Please proceed with caution. And we accepted that, yes, we know that it is a slippery slope, but there is no taboo topic or taboo subject that Africa Online Media Corporation will not touch, as far as it touches on the lives of Africans, the Africans on the continent, the Africans in the diaspora, because we want us to grow up knowing that we were once an integrated community, but some forces of history divided us, injected into us what they call tribalism, injected into us what they call nationalism, which of course don't mean anything anymore these days, because we are one, Africa is one, and we need to accept one another for who we are, work with one another, support one another, and help make sure that whatever is out there can be reachable by everyone who is on the continent, who lives in the continent, or whoever wants to come to the continent. I understand these days that we even have people now from the United States and other parts of the world who want to come to live in Africa. When they come, they may not come as children that you need to adopt. They may not come as stepchildren that you need to bring into your household. They may be coming as adults, but they will need a place to live in. Show them and welcome them to your community and let them be part of your community, especially these days where they're coming maybe with some technological know-how that will help change the face of our community. Another contributor on the forum said, some folks even suggest don't remarry until kids from the first marriage are grown and out of the house. But that doesn't seem practical or even reasonable in some instances. Are children from different moms in a polygamous marriage considered stepchildren, or is it only in cases of divorce? Well, that is, the person was just being curious. Well, personally, I think if children from a polygamous home are the children of that family. They are not adopted children. They are not second-class citizens or second-class children. They are your children because they are your biological children. Divorce may come. The children will stay because children do not write an application and say, dear father or dear mom, I need for you to father or mother me. They came because God gave them to you and that man. If you are leaving the man with the children, let the man take care of those children even after getting married to another woman. And woman, if you are coming in, you did not just drop from the sky in that house. You dated that man. You knew that he had children. You knew that those children need care, motherly care or fatherly care. When you come in, please don't throw stones at those children. Accept them because they are the blood of your husband or of your wife. This is another take from another person. Let's scroll a little down because we need to. Yes, says, could occasional reluctance to adopt be for reasons of personal faith? We put that out also. The question is that, could occasional reluctance to adopt be for reasons of personal faith? For instance, believing for a miracle like the biblical Sarah or Elizabeth, as well as concerned with inheritance. Well, if you're a father, you don't have to worry about inheritance. If you raise the children of your first marriage, as well as the children of your second marriage, you raise them equally with equitable distribution of whatever you have, there will be no problem. The children will grow up knowing that this is my brother, this is my sister, even though we are not the same mother. That is what happens in a polygamous family back in my culture. So I know that in my culture, people get married to 2, 3 wives, they have children, and the children grow up all as children of one family. They call each other by name, they accept each other, they don't discriminate, they don't say your mother is that or your mother is that. I remember seeing children from different mothers answering each other mommy. They didn't say that because you are not my biological mother, you are not my mother. You have to accept that role. You have to let the children do it. So, I mean, the parents, you as a parent, you have to give the children that education from day one, from the day they drop into the world, from the day they are born, really, what I want to say. Give them the training. Let them know that this is your brother, this is your sister. It's just that you are not from the same womb, but you are from the same father. Your father had them with another woman who is no longer here, who is in another place, or who is dead already, or who is, well, around but cannot raise you. So accept the other children as they are. This is what another contributor wrote. In the Western society, where does the practice of foster care fit into this? To be comprehensive, I will suggest we discuss this as well, because it seems to have similar outcomes as stepchildren and step parenting experience. Yes, this was put in the burner. It is in the back burner. It will be brought into the fore sooner rather than later. So it will be possible for us to discuss foster parenting, but for now it is step parenting and raising adopting children. So, Reverend Pam, you seem to be back. What is your take? Yeah, I read some of the write-ups. So what is your take? Somebody asked about faith. Somebody asked about fear of the unknown. Are these things to be feared? Does a child that is raised from another woman or from another man a problem in the house? Does it bring something different than what other children bring to the house?
It's understandable when there is fear or concern, fear of the unknown. If you adopt a newborn baby, I think the only fear associated with that is maybe health or medical history. If you don't know the medical history, if it's a closed adoption. But if it's an open adoption, you know the parents or you know the mother. Let's say it was a single mother that gave birth to the child. You can always check the medical history. But if it's a grown child, you're not sure how the child was raised to begin with. It might be challenging. But the thing about faith, I don't think there's any faith that bars you from adopting children. If anything, your faith should want to make you adopt a child, because we, the non-Jews, we are adopted. We are joint heirs with Christ and and heirs of God. So we were not. We are Gentiles. I'm talking about the Gentiles now. They are adopted. We are adopted into the family of God, the family of Christ. That's how we can call him our big brothers. So your faith should instead encourage you to adopt. Again, I just want to encourage, you don't have to bring the person under your roof. You don't. You can still take care of that child. There are even people that adopt a whole village. Like this musician, Flavor, adopted that blind orphan, Shema.
Yes, that's right.
In his case, he took the child with him. But there are people that actually, my brother and the wife, they adopted an orphanage in Bamenda, and their children, they make sure each of their 3 children sponsors a child in that orphanage. So they have adopted them, but they are not living in the US with them. So you can still adopt somebody without necessarily bringing them under your roof if that's your concern. Again, for childless couples, some of them think that they encourage, especially in-laws, mother-in-laws and sister-in-law, they'll encourage their brothers or their son to go and marry a second woman if the first woman did not have children. How about adopting? How about adopting children? And for those who have the means, adopt. There are orphans out there. Those children did not commit any crime. The fact that you and I grew up in a loving home does not mean that we are better than the children that were born as orphans. So please, let's make it a habit. And I'm glad we're discussing this topic, because I had 5 adopted children in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria. I've lost touch with them. I'm going to try to reconnect with them. I took care of them for a while. And then I lost touch with the custodian, the doctor that was my connection between me and them. You know, one of them, her name is Mary. So I know they are grown now, maybe, in college or graduating. So I'll try to reconnect with them. And because of this show, I will try to adopt. I from an orphanage. I will. I've never adopted anybody from an orphanage before. These kids here, they were orphans, but they were not in an orphanage. The doctor who does medical missions in northern Nigeria brought them to my attention. There were 5 of them. So there are some people that, could be adopted if people know about them. Like these ones, they were not in an orphanage. If the doctor did not bring it to my attention, I would not have been able to adopt them. You know, that's what I'm saying. I did
Yes.
not give them my name. One of them was named after me. The mother had a child after I adopted that one, so she named that child after me before she passed away. You know, so I think it's a good thing we are discussing this topic, because I am definitely going to adopt a child. It will not be an infant, you know, because I know personally I cannot take care of an infant now. Or I can still adopt an infant, but not bring them under my roof. That's take care of them where they are. But I think, you know, I will adopt at least one child this year, at least.
That being said, Reverend Pam, let's talk about orphanages. I know some are coming up now, especially in West Cameroon. A lot of orphanages are coming up because of the geopolitical situation there. And the problem is orphanages are opening up, but those who are opening them up believe that eventually they'll get support either from government or some non-government organization can step in to help them. But what is the best thing that these people starting up these orphanages should do to be able to attract the support they need to be able to keep those children they are adopting? Because men are dying, women are dying, living children who are now described as internally displaced, who are victims of a war nobody ever invited, nobody ever provoked. So what should those people trying to open up orphanages do?
Well, I would say I would advise them, because I always believe in teaching people how to fish rather than giving them fish.
Yes.
In opening these orphanages, they need to look at a big picture. They need to, their goal needs to be for it to be self-sustaining. There should be a farm on the premises or close by, where even the children, or that's if they are old enough, not young children, or the people who are involved in this can farm and produce things like corn, beans, you know, fruits, vegetables that can sustain the orphanage. They can raise poultry. You know what I'm saying? Poultry farms that can
Yes.
supply eggs and protein for this place. You know, they need to make sure, maybe open a bakery, some that can provide bread. You understand what I'm saying? You know,
That's right.
and also sell bread to others. You know, open something that would generate income on the premises, so they are not just dependent, 100% dependent on donations. They have to, even with the clothes for the kids, they should have an in-house tailor that make clothes for the kids and also can make clothes for outsiders, you know. So and they need to teach these kids, if they are teenagers, teach them vocational training, you know, trade, how to do different things, how to make pastries, how to fry puff puff, you know, akra beans, those type of things, you know, that they can sell and generate money, income, to support themselves and to support the orphanage. And they need to train the orphans to look at each other like siblings, so the older ones can help, you know, take care of the younger ones, to cut down on overhead staffing.
Yes, Reverend Pam, I know we're moving towards the top of the hour, but before we get there, somebody on the forum during the week raised the question of biblical children, Jacob, Abraham, and so on, who had multiple children and so on and so forth. I know the person was driving at that end of faith and so on, because reluctant to get married, because you want to be sure that the person you are getting as a child is the one that you really want, or waiting even in your old age to get a child. Some people go without children and refuse to adopt just because, as I said, they fear the traditional whatever some believe, but the biblical touch that this person brings about it. Do we have to compare today with what obtained in the Bible in those days?
Okay. Well, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And one thing people fail to understand is that the Old Testament is in the New Testament revealed, and the New Testament is in the Old Testament concealed. So you have to look at the totality of the Bible. There are 66 books in the Bible.
Yes.
Jesus said he didn't come to destroy the law, he came to fulfill it. So, however, when you look at somebody like Solomon, who had so many wives and so many concubines, and today we're telling people one man, one wife. So it's not every habit back then that you have to compare today. I'm not sure, I didn't read what the person wrote. Jacob had a lot of children, you know, and but I'm not sure what she wrote or what she was saying. If you don't mind repeating what she's saying, I didn't read it, so I don't know what exactly she was saying. But even with Rebecca, the mother of Esau and Jacob, she had twins, and
Yes.
she favored Jacob.
That's right.
Discriminated against Esau. It didn't even make sense. And deceived her aging husband, who was basically blind. Yeah, to bless Jacob, you know, instead of Esau, you know. But my point is that even they are, even though we're talking about just stepchildren and adoptive children, there are some parents who show favoritism. So I would just say that, you know, if you're going with faith or you want to talk about the Bible encourages us to treat people with love.
Yes.
You know, the most common scripture is John 3:16, where everybody being 2-year-olds, they can recite that God so loved the world, he gave his only son, that whoever, only begotten son, that whoever believe in him shall have life and have it abundantly. So you need to give. When we're talking about give here, give love. Love is free. My thing is, even if you don't want to bring the child as close to you as your own biological child, don't discriminate against them. Don't maltreat them. Don't torture them. Don't. You don't have to be mean to somebody else's child. You know, I watched a Nigerian movie the other day. You know, once in a while I watch them. And this girl maltreated her housemate so bad that she couldn't get pregnant. You know, her husband was always prayerful and telling him that you cannot expect God to give you a child when you are maltreating somebody else's child.
Yes.
When she finally got a child, guess what? That child got HIV. You know why?
Oh no.
Because she will not give 50 kobo to the maid to buy a toothbrush when the son broke the maid's toothbrush. The maid contracted HIV from the gate man.
Oh no.
Because the gate man was going to report the maid to the woman.
Yeah.
That there was some guy talking to her. So the gate man blackmailed the maid that if you don't sleep with me, I will tell the madam. She was so scared of the madam. She slept with the madam. That's why she got HIV. But then the woman refused to give her the money to buy the toothbrush. She went for 3 days without brushing her teeth. The woman was complaining. So she used the woman's son's toothbrush to brush the teeth. And that's how the boy got the HIV.
HIV.
And the boy died, and the maid was still alive. So be careful.
What you do to others.
Be careful. What goes around comes around. I'm not a French person, but near so isn't there a proverb that says on a ferry and Kaswanem?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that from primary school.
You can only do it to yourself. What you do to others, you do it to yourself too, if I got it right. But that may not be the true sense. But we'll lay that aside. And I don't know what time you have there. I'm showing 5 o'clock. Is that the same time with you? Apparently, my watch is
a minute. Yeah, but yeah, we'll go. Yeah, anyway, we can just make the announcement. You know.
Okay. All right. Yes. Go ahead, and I'll bring you that that thing the contributor wrote about the biblical connection.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You know, we are going to do a sequel to this topic because one of our physicians on the forum recommended it, which was a good idea. You know, we're going to be talking about foster care. But in addition to foster care, we're going to also talk about care for house help. So, Nia-Song, I think we should combine them.
Yes. Foster care and helping house helps or supporting house helps.
No, care for house help.
Care for house help.
It's very common I know of a Cameroonian couple that was sentenced to prison in this country because they brought a relative from home,
Yes.
basically enslaved her.
I read
It,
about that.
yeah, it was more than physical abuse, you know. But I'm just saying we're going to talk about foster care and house help care, care
Yes.
for house help, you know,
Okay.
whether it's male or female. I think it's
Yes.
important because it's very rampant in our community. So
It
we
is. It
have to
is.
talk about both. We really need to
Yes.
talk about both. And
Okay.
another announcement is we have a date for the second annual Africa's Brain Bank Summit and Charity Ball. That will be October the 3rd, 2020. It's going to be at the BWI Marriott. And our keynote speaker is going to be Dr. George Fraser. You know, I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. You know, he is one gifted brother.
Okay.
Yeah, so mark your calendar, save the date. We're going to be putting out the save the date once it's finalized, you know, with some aesthetics on it. But it's going to be October the 3rd, you know. And we still have the book Africa's Brain Power. We encourage everybody to buy it. Nia, you're supposed to be getting it on your niece's website. You know, we still have. It's a good book. It's the editorials are amazing. Even when I read the book, I still get blessed. I have a copy here in my tea room. Even though I had the pleasure of editing the book, it's that powerful
Yeah.
because every time
Thank
I
you.
read it, it blesses me. So
Thank you so much.
must have. Everybody should have that. It's only 19.99, and none of it goes to Nia Song or myself or anybody. All the proceeds go to Africa Online Project. Over to you, Nia Song.
Thank you. And this is what our contributor wrote during the week about that thing concerning the Bible. By the silence, oh, no, not that. I think I jumped. Let me jump to the where the story starts. I was a little back, had been pushed back. Okay, let's see. I think I lost it, but all the same, we're talking about being able to raise children, and the topic for next week that is foster children and house help, helping house helps. So please let me find that piece that was sent in. Here it is, and it says, by the silence, it appears this topic is unpalatable. Anyway, just reflecting on the biblical Jacob and his 12 sons from various moms. The children were all direct siblings as children of Jacob, but those from the same mom, Rachel, that is Joseph and Benjamin, had a stronger connection. No apparent issues of competition or jealousy as compared to the offspring from different wombs. Perhaps the parents transfer or prevent the transfer of those generational grudges. That's the question the person asks. But it continues. Same with children of Abraham from different mothers. One kid of King David raped his stepsister from another mom. So those are the concerns this person wrote during the week. And I just thought I should bring it up because I thought the Bible tells us to love one another. And I did not know that, even though I know about these stories, I did not take into consideration those aspects of negative happenings. I just knew that they were children of the same father, children of the different mothers, but they lived their lives. I know that eventually Joseph was sold off by his brothers, but then that is the biblical story that we read, and we have to accept it. And as you said, Reverend Pam, Jesus is the center of everything. Love is the center of everything. John 3:16 should continue to inspire us, whether we are from the same father or the same mother or not, whatever it is, let us learn to accept one another for who we are. Because as one of my favorite songs says, it is the same blood running in them that runs in us. Reverend Pam.
Yeah, those things were not. Our topic is step parenting and adoptive parenting.
Yes.
So what she was talking about there is sibling rivalries, sibling jealousy. Um, Rachel, Jacob loved Rachel, a lot. He did because that was his heart's desire. Leah was not his desire.
Yes.
Remember, his father-in-law Laban, that was his mother's brother, Rebecca's brother. When he went and labored for 7 years, he was laboring for Rachel, but they tricked him and gave him Leah. So he had to labor for another 7 years for Rachel. That's whom he really loved. And Benjamin was his last child. You know, Joseph, he made a coat of many colors for Joseph because he loved Joseph.
Yes.
And his other children, they did not like that. That's why they sold Joseph off to slavery. But what happened? When there was famine in the land, Joseph ended up in Potiphar's house, again with trouble. Potiphar's wife accusing him of attempted rape, even though she was the one that wanted to rape Joseph. And Joseph
Joseph.
was thrown into prison. And while in prison there, the king's cupbearer, the king had a dream. You know, he was so scared his magicians could not interpret the dream. When the cupbearer left, the cupbearer, even though he did not keep his promise to David, but when the king's dreams needed to be interpreted, he remembered Joseph as the dream interpreter. And after Joseph interpreted the dream, the Pharaoh was so happy, he made him prime minister, only second in command to him, and gave him, all this power, administrative power. Because basically, when Joseph interpreted the dream, he said there will be 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. So in the years of plenty, Joseph saved a lot of food. Which anyway, when I'm trying to summarize the story,
Yes.
when there was so much famine in Canaan, the same siblings, Simeon and Reuben, them that sold Joseph into slavery, they came looking for food, and not knowing that Joseph was the prime minister. After Joseph revealed himself to him, first Joseph, arrested them and then helped Benjamin. He planted his cup back into and gave them all the money, and they helped Benjamin, but they didn't know why. And they were pleading that, oh no, they should not, because their father would die. And they said, well, go bring your father to prove that, he was trying to find out from them how many brothers they had.
Yes.
Finally confessed that there was one who died. They didn't know they were speaking with him. But anyway, Jacob came in his old age, and they enjoyed plenty until another Pharaoh came who did not know Joseph. And then that's how they got enslaved for 400 years. Long story.
Yes. Long story, yes.
What she was referring to there is sibling rivalry.
That's right. It exists even today.
It exists with siblings from the same mother, same father. It exists. There's sibling rivalry. That is not necessarily step parenting. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
I don't know if I addressed that appropriately or not.
You did. Let me quickly bring two stories that I got from the BBC this morning. The Gambia is said to have warned its ousted leader, Yahya Jammeh, not to try to return home from his exile in Equatorial Guinea. A government spokesman told the BBC that Mr. Jammeh's safety couldn't be guaranteed if he did return without permission. A spokesman said Mr. Jammeh did not know what would happen to him, so it was better for him not to come. So a spokesman for the former president, who is leading the party now, said they were ready to receive him, but this is not government, it's a party. So government protects a former president, so the party cannot provide the necessary support. So the Gambia's neighbors forced Mr. Jammeh into exile in Equatorial Guinea after he refused to accept his defeat in elections in December 2016. And he himself had seized power in 1994, and he went on to become a really ruthless leader. Some have even said he was carrying out extrajudicial killings, tortures, and arbitrary detention. So they are telling him not to try to come back home now because they cannot guarantee his safety. The second story comes to us from the BBC as a reporter in North Africa, precisely in Libya. The two sides in Libya's civil war have accused the other of breaking an internationally brokered ceasefire within hours of its taking effect. After pressure from their backers, Russia and Turkey, the ceasefire officially started on Sunday. But that is early today is Sunday, but both sides, according to the UN-backed government and forces loyal to Russian ally General Khalifa Haftar, they are the ones engaged in this, and they are fighting to take over the capital, where General Haftar is fighting to take over the capital. And Turkey last week sent troops to help the government of National Accord Forces, which of course are supporting the United Nations brokered leader who is in Tripoli. So General Haftar is trying to take over the whole country. Well, he has taken most of it anyway. So they're all waiting to see what will happen. They hope that the international community will renegotiate this ceasefire and let there be some peace in Libya. Well, they killed their former leader and the country fell apart. So we hope that peace will return so that Libyans can once more enjoy life. And that is another trouble spot, of course, from where we have step parents coming up, from where we have people running away because of insecurity. All the same, back to our topic, raising stepchildren and talking about it again. What is it the children's fault, as we asked in our introduction earlier? Is it the children's fault that they become stepchildren or adopted children?
The children have nothing to do with it.
That's right.
So some of it might be in nature when when a parent is lost, or choices made by the parents when they decide to divorce, or maybe the parents were never married in the first place. So we cannot even put it on the children. We cannot. And no child chooses to be without their biological parents.
Not at all. Not at all. And talking about adoption again, our people, that is you and I and everybody else, especially Africans in the diaspora, should think deeply and seriously about reaching out there to the continent to adopt children, because many of these children are children in countries that have gone through war, countries that have fought one another for so long, and the children are just there in maybe orphanages or in foster homes, but there are many, and the other people who are taking care cannot fully take control because they don't have the means. So the diaspora should step in and help raise or adopt children so that together we can get everybody on a better footing, on a better lifestyle than they currently have.
Yeah, I want to suggest something, because there are other ministries that have the sponsorship for children. What's the name of this organization? Because I've done that too. Again, sometimes you lose touch with these people where you can sponsor a child abroad. They send you the picture, the child writes with you, the child never lives under your roof, but you sponsor the child. So for those who are trying to open orphanages, especially in areas like Southern Cameroon with the problems with the internally displaced persons, they should consider people sponsoring children from here, or adopting the children, but let the children stay there, because it's also good for the children if they grow up with these other children, because they are coming from similar situations. You understand what I'm saying? So yes. they help each other to support each other. Okay, either their parents were killed or their parents are missing, so they can relate to each other. So I would suggest, and this is something that I would love to do, to sponsor a child or two as the Lord makes it possible for me to do, but let the children stay in the orphanage there or stay back home, because there are a lot of people, especially in the French-speaking part of the country, a lot of Anglophones who have so many people in their houses, but they had to flee from the English-speaking zone. So it's not just in Cameroon, wherever there's war, where people are fleeing, for safety. When they open these orphanages, let them consider getting people to adopt children in the orphanage and sponsor those children while they're there.
Yes. And one more story that I picked is this one happened along the Nigeria-Cameroon border. So in the northern part of the French-speaking Cameroon, a grenade that a child picked up from a bin on the Nigeria-Cameroon border exploded, killing him and 8 other people. 26 people were also wounded in the blast on the Nigeria side of the border. A Cameroonian official told the BBC that they did not know exactly how it had happened, but the child, believed to be under 10 years old, mistook the grenade for scrap metal, which he intended to sell. Witnesses were telling the BBC. And it is unclear who left the grenade in the bin, but the area has been hit by an Islamist insurgency led by the Boko Haram group, who are, of course, a splinter group of the Islamist state, West Africa province. They operate in the region, and we know that the Nigerian Cameroonian troops form part of a regional force fighting these militants. The governor of Cameroon's far north region, Mijinyawa Bakari, told the BBC that the grenade exploded late on Monday, that is this past Monday, on a busy bridge linking the Nigerian town of Gamboro to the Cameroonian town of Fotokol. All the dead were Nigerians, while the wounded included nationals from both countries, that is from both Nigeria and Cameroon. The injured were taken to local hospitals. Some had their limbs blown off. Residents in the Gamboro area told the BBC. And many poor children in Nigeria often go through bins looking for scrap metal, which they sell to metal dealers to recycle. So this is what happened when this child picked that thing, thinking it was scrap metal. Boko Haram's decade-long insurgency began in northeastern Nigeria, but has spilled over into the neighboring states, Chad, Cameroon, Niger, and tens of thousands of civilians have been killed and more than 2 million have been displaced in the conflict. So trouble, 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 and making it necessary for us to discuss topics like this, because where there is war, we end up having orphans, we end up having children seeking places to go to, seeking people to raise them, seeking people to support them so that they too can have a life, a full life, a life of their own. So Reverend Pam, over to you.
Yeah, you know, I think we should put orphanages in our queue. Not to discuss now, but I think we should put that in the queue because that's something we need to discuss.
Yes.
That's something we really need to discuss. It's a problem on the continent.
Yes.
There are a lot of orphanages that don't get help, you know, and it's really a shame. It's really a shame that these kids, sometimes they don't even get to eat up to twice a day.
A day.
Again, for those who are opening orphanages, let them look for people that care about children, not just people that are looking for a job. There's a difference. Because sometimes these kids just need a hug. You understand what I'm saying? They may just need a hug. They may just need someone to show them love. These are things that don't cost money. You understand what I'm saying? These are things that
following you.
They don't cost money. It doesn't cost money to give somebody a hug. So my advice would be for those people opening this offering to look for people that are caring, that have a heart for children that are not their children. Because you don't want a situation where you raise children that grow up being bitter with society. So that is something. Yeah, that's something.
Keep going. I'm trying to adjust something here.
No, yeah, that's something that is important. And let's going back to adoptive parents. And please, if your child is adopted, let them know. Don't hide it from them. Because if you do, and they find out in their adult age, or through either some medical history or something, they're gonna hate you for life. They will. I know of somebody who grew up thinking the stepmother was their mother and that the mother was an aunt. And just that deception by his parents scarred him for life. Even in his old age, he's still not gotten over it. So be honest with the children. Let them know they were adopted. And I don't support close adoption. I think everybody has a right to know who their biological mother or father is. You can sign all the documents that you want, but let this child know why they eat a certain way, why they do things a certain way, where that trait came from, where those genes came from. You know, it's not fair to the child, because when adults sit and make decisions about this adoptive processes, and the child doesn't have a say because the child is an infant. So it's good for these children to know who their biological parents is. That doesn't mean that they will go back to their biological parents, Most of the time they look at their adoptive parents as their parents, but it's good for them to know who gave birth to them, so that there's no void in their life, near son.
Indeed, we need to encourage people who adopt to let the children know who their biological parents were or are, so that they can also know that there is somebody out there whom they can turn to eventually, if ever it becomes necessary. That said, now, Reverend Pam, let's see, one final question on this. What is the best way to do the open adoption? Do you have an idea?
Well, I mean, to me, it's just being honest. You know, when I say open adoption, is that just let the person know they were adopted. You know, so you keep the records of the family. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You keep the record. You keep the information. It's good to keep the information. Let the child decide if they want to know or not. Let it be their decision when they grow up. You know, okay, some people say, well, we can't tell this child now, but when the child becomes a teenager, we'll tell them. What if the child finds out from
That's
social
right.
media or from a relative?
Yes.
What if the child finds out? So, what is that appropriate age to tell a child? It's good for the child to know that they were adopted. And then it's up to the child to decide if they want to locate their biological parents. And if they choose to, the adoptive parents should not feel threatened. You should support them. If you were kind to this child, you're not going to lose the child. You should be supportive. Most children, when they grow up, they will stick with their adoptive parents because that's the only parents they know. But give them the option to know who brought them into this world.
Give them the option and the opportunity to know who their original parents were, because they were brought into the world by somebody. So, Reverend Pam, adoptions, adopting children, adoptive parenting. What else? What else should somebody wanting to adopt a child think of before going into it? Is it just, okay, rising up one morning and saying, okay, I'm going to adopt a child? Or should that person, do they have some homework to do, some preparatory materials to put together? So let us hear that piece of it.
First of all, they have to be sure that's what they want to do. And they need to know that it comes with responsibilities and accountability. You don't just go and adopt a child and think, okay, well, this child was an orphan. I'm giving them a roof over their head. They have three. I don't know why they call it 3 square meals. Maybe they should be calling it 3 triangle meals, but they call it 3 square meals. 3 is not square. 3 cannot form a square. But anyway, you should, you know, note that it comes with responsibility. You are responsible for this child until this child becomes an adult. You are responsible. Proverbs 22:6, train up a child the way they should go, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. You need to help them with their homework. You need to teach them right from wrong. You need to be able to provide for them. You need to be able to comfort them. You need to be able to care for them. I want to talk about a famous adoption in the Bible, Moses. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
When Pharaoh's daughter drew him out of the water, that's the meaning of Moses, because she drew Moses out of the water. That's why he called Moses Moses. It so happened that the biological mother of Moses was the one that nursed Moses, that she hired to nurse Moses. But even when Moses grew up, Moses did not turn against Pharaoh's daughter. He did not.
No.
Even when he knew he did not turn against Pharaoh's daughter. Nia Song, I'll have to meet for a second again. I have a need to get off for a second.
Okay. Yes. Here we go. Yes. When you adopt a child again, let the child know who their biological parent was or is, and give that child your full support. That said, again, please. Oh, I'm losing something here. Did I lose something? Let's see. So that being said, Reverend Pam, I know you're taking a call, but I'm also losing something here. I can't hear myself. Anyway, I hope that it's going through. That being said, let us continue what we do best on Africa Online by encouraging our people out there to step up, to step in, and to do what they have to do, so that together we can have these children that we raise, we can have the children that we adopt to live their full lives, to live the life to their full potential and to do the right thing, to live their lives, to be able to know that they can fit into this world and live in this world the best way they can. Okay, I seem to have lost something here. Reverend Pam, are you still with us? Yeah, I know you're answering a call yet. Okay, that's right. But I've lost something here. I hope I did not knock myself out before the program ends. I can't get it back, but we are discussing foster parenting. Oh, no, not foster parenting. That's for next week. We're raising adopted children, adoptions, and taking care of children that we have brought into our homes, biological or non-biological. Well, mostly it's non-biological children. But when we do adopt children, we should be able to give them the opportunity they seek so that they can fit into the community that we are raising. I have a problem here. Okay, now I see it. Okay, so that said, please, child adoption is a priority in many parts of the world these days. It is not just because we are out here that we're talking about it. We just want that together we can get the necessary means for children that are adopted, for children that need parenting, for children that need support, to be able to receive that support, because you and I can always provide it. It is not only those who are from other countries that should learn to do it. We too have an opportunity, and we should be able to provide that opportunity when we can. Okay, at this point, I was going to read something, but it just got missing in my system. Let me see if I can find it, and we will conclude on that, because I believe that we together can make these things work. So I'll just bring you a number of quotes about what we need to do and be doing, because I realize that people who have gone before us say a lot of things that can help us find our feet and do what we have to do. The first one is maybe the first two will be from Leo Tolstoy. I used him last week, and I think I used this one. He says, the changes in our life must come from the impossibility to live otherwise than according to the demands of our conscience, not from our mental resolution to try a new form of life. That is Leo Tolstoy. He came from he came from Russia in those days. So he's encouraging us to take the responsibility that we have and to live our lives and be able to stretch a hand and help others who are out there who need our help too. So it is absolutely necessary to help one another, to help those children who need support, who need our support, because adoptive and step parenting is something that we need to include in our daily lives so that together we can help everybody, everyone. We know that there are many orphans out there. We know that Africans at home and abroad are not very hot about it, but we know that they are taking baby steps, and those baby steps, of course, will lead to a full circle of action and activity that helps bring up these children. Stepchildren and their relations with their parents, as Reverend Pam said just a while ago, we need to know that their biological parents should know who are adopting their children, and we need to know that discriminatory practices may exist, but the parents also need to help those children. If you're an adopted parent, just let the child know that there was another parent that actually brought them into the world. Let us do that so that together we can bring the child up in the right way without wondering, scratching their head and asking, who is my real mother? It could be very traumatic when they finally find out if you did not tell them from the word go. Now, Reverend Pam, I see you are back. What else do you have as your rounding summary or your last word on the
I would say
parenting?
I would say for the parents, the step parents or the adoptive parents, if you have been a parent from hell, change today. It's never too late. Repent and change and start being a good parent. Even if you don't want to show love, don't maltreat. For the children who are in the situation, God is the father to the fatherless and the mother to the motherless. Pray, tell somebody if you are being abused, you do not have to be abused. It's not normal. You need to ask for help. Ask for help. And for those step parents out there and adoptive parents who are being good parents, God bless you. May Luke 6:8 be your portion in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Over to you.
That being said, I think we are at the end of our broadcast for today. And we are wishing all of you the best. We're still in the new year. It is not too late again to say Happy New Year. And we hope that you will join us next week as we broadcast the next topic, which is, let me see again at my note. Let me consult my notes.
Foster care and
foster care, parenting and foster care plus house help.
Your co-anchor, Sister Sylvia, she was under the weather today. So we miss you, Sister Sylvia. Get well quick and we'll see you next Sunday.
Thank you so very much and enjoy the week. Today is 70 degrees in Maryland. I don't know how hot or cold is down there.
It's 50 degrees here.
Okay, we are better off today than you, but we were able to open windows, turn off the AC, and we're living our lives more than we have lived the past 2 months.
Wow. Okay.
Have a great week, and we'll be talking.
All right. Thank you, Niason.
Bye.
Bye.